Hey, hi, it's been a while. Welcome back. Sorry about the lighting. It's really crappy. I hate doing videos without natural lighting because I don't know if it's me who buys really horrible bulbs or if I don't know, but it just looks really bad with the lighting. Anyway, I don't know. It's let's see if I can get over the fact that the lighting is really crappy. No, it's even looking it's getting worse with every minute. Anyway, let me see if I move like this, does it change anything? Yeah, but then now that thing at the back is going to bug me. Okay, what else can I do? Oh yeah, I know. I can move here. If I move here, yeah, it's better, but not perfect. Think it's even really horrible because this dress is really such a good color and it looks horrible in this video, but well, anyway, yeah, I think this is better. No, it's not. Anyway, what's important is that I am going to talk about whatever I need to talk about. So, I want to discuss something that got into a very interesting conversation between me and somebody who, I don't know, sometimes I feel like we really do look for reasons to complain. Now, this is something which I'd never looked at it from a different angle, but then nowadays I kind of started looking at it from a different angle at some point. So let me know what you people think about this because I don't really think. Anyway, here's the scenario. So people tend to say that when you move, especially like Africans and Asians, most of us, when we move to European countries or to the US, well, to English speaking countries, not even just English speaking countries, just most of these other countries that are not our native countries, we tend to Englishize or Frenchicize, well, change your name. So, for example, if you had a very long name, you would shorten it or, make it easier for other people to pronounce. Now, for some people, that's fine. But for some people, it kind of offends them because they're like, well, you can learn other people's names. Why can't you learn mine? So I don't know. I think for me, I already have a name that is not even I mean, well, Mercy is not really, I can't say it's a Kenyan name. It's, well, it's an English name. And so it really never used to bother me that much. And then, I moved to Switzerland. And for me, first of all, I had the English speaking people who kept correcting me on how I should pronounce my name. And I pronounce it the way my mother pronounces it. She's the one who named me. So if she wants me to say Mercy, I will say Mercy because that's how I pronounce it. That's just how, you know, that's my Kenyan accent. That's how I've grown up. Kenyans call me Mercy, except the ones who've decided that now they want to speak with other accents, borrowed accents. But yeah, so that's it. So it never really bothered me, and then and it still doesn't. You call me the way you want to call me. I can't. I find it so hard to start correcting people on how to pronounce my name. However, there are people who really do get offended when you pronounce their name wrong, and they just don't like it. So there was this conversation about should people westernize their names when they move to Western countries because to make it easier for their hosts to pronounce. I always thought that it's kind of weird to ask somebody to change their name just so you're able to pronounce it better. And it, it's not something that affects me directly. So it's not like I spent time really thinking about it. And I remember when I gave birth, I wanted my daughter to have a name that can be pronounced the same in every language. I wanted it I was like, I kind of want her to have a name that you don't have to tell her in English you pronounce it like this, in French you pronounce it like this, and for me, just to make life easier for her. Now, my son, on the other hand, that never really worked out, but he inherited a name, so so that was not really an option. But I really did take time to think about what name to give my children, because I was thinking this is a child born in a multicultural environment, and I had seen quite a number of people who have, like, living in a francophone country, and then you have an R in the name. It's pronounced differently in English. It's pronounced differently in French. If it's a name that actually exists in both languages, you have it pronounced like, Samuel, the way you pronounce it in English and the way you pronounce it in French is different. And, then you have some names that when you pronounce them in English, French, German, they're all different. So, I just found that sometimes maybe it would be a bit hard for um for the child. So it was easy to just give her the name that for me seemed a bit more palatable to whatever language. Now, I so I think that is something that I was conscious about, but that's just because I had seen quite a lot of people struggle with this name issue. Now, today the conversation came up with somebody, and she was like, she doesn't understand why people have to do that. And the other person who was there, who was on the other side of it, said for her, she would rather shorten her name because she genuinely doesn't like the way people butcher her name when they pronounce it. And it does not bother her that they butcher it, because she said that it's her name in her mother tongue. And her mother tongue has notes that don't exist in other languages. So the way they will pronounce it, for her, she would rather they shorten it than they pronounce it in a way that is not the way it's intended to be pronounced. I genuinely think I'm a new convert. I'm on her side now. I would rather I shorten my name. I shorten the name. Like if I had one of those names, I would rather I shorten the name than for you to butcher the name. I don't think it's offensive when somebody cannot pronounce your name in the language that you wanted it to be, in the language that you come from. There are things that do not exist in other languages. Like, they're just things that don't exist in other languages. There are notes and letters that don't exist in other languages. So when you have a name that is quite unique, and it's quite unique to your language, and then you try to force someone who is not a native of that, well, not force, I mean, but you're listening to someone who is not a native of your language pronouncing it. If it's going to bother you how they pronounce it, it's even better for them to shorten it or for you to shorten it. And so I feel like if you have a name that is very specific to your culture, and somebody shortens it, or shortening somebody's name without asking them if you can shorten it, that's rude. That's just plain rude. There's no anything about it. If I tell you this, if you want to give me a nickname first, ask me if I want that nickname. But if if for example you have a long name and you do not and you shorten it to make it easier for other people to pronounce, if you cannot shorten it because your principles do not allow for you to just compromise, because that is a compromise. When you think about it, you are actually compromising. When you decide that, then be okay with how people will pronounce it, because they're just things that don't exist. I remember, and this is not even a black, white, Asian issue. This is just even in Kenya, I come from one side of Kenya and then they're from another side of Kenya, and I know that for a fact there are some names that the way I pronounce it is not the way this name is supposed to be pronounced. It sounds very weird in my ear when I say it, but I just can't get to say it the way they say it the correct way. And well, in Kenya, most people have kind of softened the accent when they talk about, when they say their names, they've Englishized their names, their traditional names. But the truth is, the way I would say like a Kikuyu name and the way it is meant to be said are not always the right way. So if you want it to be pronounced the right way, just if you want it, if you want somebody to go, what am I going to say? If you want, if you won't get offended by somebody pronouncing it the best they can, because most people try. I know people always give this example of, oh, if they can say all these long Russian names. But the funny thing is, another Russian told me that I people say these names, but the way they're pronouncing it, half the time I have to ask, can you write it down, because I have no idea what you're saying. So even those names, we butcher them. You cannot force yourself to speak a language that you don't speak. I mean, I've been speaking French for years, but then there are still words in French that it comes out and I'm like, what did I just say? Because it does not even sound right to me, but it's come out of my mouth. So they're just things, you cannot force it. I know this is something that many people might look at in a funny, funny way, but I don't know. For me, I just think there are so many other issues in the world. I feel like just be forgiving. I genuinely don't think that people are out to hurt others. But then again, I also tend to think that people are nice. But I don't think people are out to hurt you by pronouncing your name the best way they can. Quite a number of people that I meet, they always ask, so how do you pronounce your name and stuff like that? Maybe I just tend to meet good people. But I find it so sad. I mean, yes, say it. I mean, if it's an obvious way to say it. But if there are things like, if you come from a country which has click sounds and not everybody knows how to do that, everybody's tongues does what other tongues do. There are people who they cannot pronounce R or L to save their lives. There are people who, it's just hard. So sometimes it's not coming out of a bad place. Sometimes it's coming out of a good place, which is why I think now I'm on the side of people should not be forced to shorten their names or to Englishize them. But what what people who have, what people should do is, you should not be offended by how people pronounce your name. Because I feel like if we did that more, if we allowed people to keep their names more, then we would get more used to these names. If you always meet somebody with a shortened name and you've never met anybody with that full name, like if I meet one person with a full name and then I use that name and I continue using it and I continue hearing it from two, three, four people, at some point maybe it might stick. But if we keep shortening these names to make it easier for other people, then they never get to learn our true names, our full names. So maybe that can be another good thing for people to learn. Then people can have even more names. I mean, we don't all have to be called Mary, Jackie, and Ashley. Sometimes we need other more exotic names. And yeah, we never know. There just might be somebody who wants a nice exotic name. Anyway, I have no idea why I felt like I needed to do this video, but I really did need to do it. So thank you so much for listening to this, and let me know if you think that this name thing is a big deal or not. And I'm so sorry about the lighting.